Are you afraid that the government might take all of your money? If so, you are in absolutely the right place. I'm Ann Babiars, and I am here with Michael Babiars, retired attorney at law, to discuss this very issue. Welcome to the show, Michael.
Well, thank you. And you know, when you ponder that question, the most common way that the government takes money from you is taxes. And one of the things that all of us can do when it comes to protecting our assets, protecting ourselves, protecting our families, is to make sure we pay legally the smallest amount of tax that we can. We're under obligation to pay taxes that are legally imposed on us, but tax planning and planning to avoid taxes, which is a whole nother game from planning to evade taxes, is perfectly legitimate. You can plan all you want to avoid taxation. You can't, unfortunately, plan to evade taxation. One is perfectly legitimate, the other is not. And I used to do a lot of tax planning for folks in my years spent in private practice as an attorney, because that was a very common goal of estate planning, where people were worried about such things as the death tax. By the way, there is no such thing as a death tax. We don't tax people for dying. There is an estate tax where we tax wealth when people pass away. The federal government taxes wealth of a very large number when someone passes away. So much so that it's a very nice problem to have. And there's actually planning you can do to minimize the amount that you would pay if you're fortunate enough to have that nice problem. A few of the states have their own estate tax too, and you need to be aware of those. But again, those tend to hit the folks that are in the higher brackets or the higher nest eggs, so to speak. But there's tax planning you can do not only for when you're not here to protect your family, but there's tax planning, of course, you can do now. And all of those things coupled together really do help protect your assets, because you're helping to make sure you have the maximum amount for yourself and your family, and a legally appropriate and legitimate amount to support the government services that we all use and enjoy.
Excellent answer to that very cogent question.
Well, thank you.
And just for the listeners and the audience's information.
Listeners, viewers.
Yeah, well, you know, audio, video, wherever you want to go. If you wouldn't mind sharing a little bit about your background, so that they know that you have quite an extensive background in these issues that we are talking about.
Well, after a few questionable choices and a little bit of rehab, no, we're joking here, of course. As I mentioned a little bit earlier on in my answer, I'm a retired attorney, and the areas I practiced in were things like estate planning, estate administration, asset protection planning, corporate and business law, elder law. All of those things revolved around, in one way or another, protecting people's assets and even some tax issues. While I was in private practice, which I did in the suburbs of Chicago, I also did a lot of teaching. I was an adjunct professor at a college, created and taught adult education, continue to teach even to this very day, because although I'm retired from the practice of law and can't give legal advice anymore, I can teach all I want, and I can use the background I have to help folks, like on today's program, and also in some of the other courses that you and I created together that I know you're going to talk to the folks about, because these are things that can help. These can help not only the multi-millionaire, but maybe the multi-$10 heir.
Right, or people that are even possibly in debt. They need help too.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't matter at all where you are. It does matter that you need this information. And one thing that I'll say is plan early and plan often. It's kind of a Chicago thing.
A little bit of a Chicago saying.
Yeah, kind of a little bit of a turn of a phrase, if you will. Well, I want to thank you for being on today's show. And I want to let the listeners, the watchers know that we have a link below to a very extensive course on protecting yourself and your assets, which was created by Michael, who you've just watched in the video. And if you have questions, please feel free to contact us. And please, if you liked this video and you want to be on board for all of the other ones, please hit like, subscribe to our channel, and ring that notification bell.